So we are not going to lose the party of Reagan, and we are not going to lose the conservative movement to a con man. We are not going to let that happen. And the reason why is because this election is too important. In this election is a referendum, and you have to decide what kind of country will America be in the 21st century. Now, we know what kind of country it's been up to now. It's been special, unique in all the world, okay? In most countries in the world, you can only be what your parents were before you. That's the only thing you're allowed to be, not in America. Here we believe everyone has the right to go as far as their talent and their work will take them. But that was not an accident. You know why that happened? Because the people who came before us did what needed to be done. They embraced the principles that made America special. They embraced limited government. They embraced and followed the Constitution. They embraced free enterprise. They embraced a strong national defense. And so for over 200 years, each generation has left the next better off. Now the time has come for us to do that. Now that's not what's going to happen if Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders wins this election. So we can't lose this election. We will lose this election if Donald Trump is the nominee. Now watch what the press is doing. The press is treating him with kid gloves. You saw some of these press reports in the morning. It's like, oh, whoa, this Donald Trump, man, what's he going to do to Marco Rubio today? He's so unstoppable. They don't touch any of the stuff he's about. On the other hand, they have written articles about how when I was 18 years old, okay, I got a citation from the cops for drinking beer in a park after hours. You can't be president if you haven't drank beer in the park after hours, okay? At least not in some states in the country, anyway. But the point is that this is the level of investigation. They haven't even touched him. You know why? Because they can't wait. They're waiting for him to be the nominee. Then they'll tear him apart. Then they'll tear him apart and they'll coronate Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders or whoever it is that wins their nomination. And that would be a disaster. Bernie Sanders is a socialist. Okay? By the way, in most politics, when you call somebody a socialist, they deny it. He says it in his commercials. So I'm not saying anything he wouldn't say. He's a nice guy, but he's a socialist. Hillary Clinton is under FBI investigation. That usually means you don't get to run for president, but if you're a Democrat, I guess that's okay. But this is more serious. She's disqualified from being commander-in-chief. Because Hillary Clinton, on September 11th of 2012, 4 Americans died in Benghazi as a result of a terrorist attack, and she knew that. She knew that. But she told their families that it was because of a movie. She lied to them. Anyone who lies to the families of those who have lost their lives in the service of our country can never be the commander-in-chief of the United States. Disqualified. So, we cannot lose this election. And if you give me your vote and you nominate me, we will not lose this election. We won't lose it because, number one, we'll unify this party. We'll bring it together. We don't have to agree on everything. We can have differences on some issues, but we are going to unify this party. We cannot win if we're fighting against each other. I am the only one left in this race that can bring us together as a party. But we can't just unify. We also have to grow, which means we have to take our message of conservatism to people that don't vote for us now. And I can and I will. I'll take our message to people that live today the way I grew up. I grew up paycheck to paycheck. I've lived paycheck to paycheck. People asked me recently, how do you define paycheck to paycheck? I said, paycheck to paycheck is when you write a check on Wednesday, but you know the money doesn't get there till Friday, so you date it Saturday. I'm not saying I ever did that. I'm just saying I know what it is. We're going to take our message to people that are living paycheck to paycheck. And we're going to say to them, I lived the way you live now. I grew up and faced the things you're facing now. And I'm a conservative, and you should be too, because that's the right way forward for me, for you, and for the United States of America. We are going to take our message to young Americans, some of whom are living with student loan debt. By the way, if you took out a student loan to go to Trump University, the only thing you got was a piece of paper and a picture with a cardboard cutout of Donald Trump. So my apologies if you went to that university. And their football team is no good either. And so there are millions of Americans today. We had a 500% increase in student loan debt in this country. I'm the only Republican that talks about it all the time because for me it's personal, because I had to face it. I have a plan to deal with this issue. We're going to take our message to families raising their children the way Jeanette and I are raising ours now, because it's become harder than ever to raise your kids with the values they teach in our church instead of the values that they try to ram down our throat in popular culture. We are going to... We will unite this party and we will grow it, and if we do that, we will win. And that's why the Democrats don't want to run against me. Jim is right. In poll after poll, I beat Hillary Clinton, and the Democrats know that. They attack me more than any other Republican in this race because they don't want to run against me. Hillary Clinton does not want to run against me, but I cannot wait to run against Hillary Clinton. We'll win. We'll win this election, and then we'll get to work. Now, what kind of president will you have? When I am president of the United States, number one, you're going to have a president for the first time in 8 years that, follows the Constitution of the United States of America. That means a Constitution that says you have a First Amendment right to live out the teachings of your faith in every aspect of your life. A Constitution that says you have a Second Amendment right to protect yourself and your family. A 10th Amendment that says that the power of government should largely reside in the states and in the local communities. If it's unconstitutional, I will be against it. And that's why when I become president of the United States, on my first day in office, I will repeal every single one of Barack Obama's unconstitutional executive orders. By the way, there's an opening in the Supreme Court now, and we shouldn't do anything on that opening until after this election. You have a right to weigh in on it. But you know what kind of justices we're going to appoint? People like Antonin Scalia, God rest his soul, that understand that the Constitution is supposed to be applied according to its original meaning. It is not a living and breathing document that means whatever you want it to mean. Because if it means whatever you want it to mean, it means nothing at all. We are going to have judges that apply the Constitution according to its original meaning. By the way, if you want to change the Constitution, there's a process for that. It's called Article 5. And Article 5 says that you, the citizens, can call a convention of states. In fact, your former Senator Tom Coburn is leading that effort. And it's not an effort that it won't do anything with the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, all those things stay in place. The only thing he's seeking, and I support, is term limits on Congress, term limits on judges, and a balanced budget amendment for America. Now, number two, when I'm president of the United States, you're going to have a president that believes in free enterprise. I always laugh when I hear political figures say, oh, when I was mayor, we created 100,000 jobs. And I say, really, you hired 100,000 government workers? Because unless you hired 100,000 government workers, you didn't create 100,000 jobs, the private sector did. And I can say that to you because my parents had a job as a bartender and a maid because the private sector created their jobs. Someone who had access to money risked that money to open up a hotel and hired them. That's how they were able to buy a home and raise a family and retire with dignity and give us a better life. We are going to make America the best place in the world to start a business or expand an existing business when I'm president of the United States. We don't have time here today to go through all the details, but go on my website. You will see that I have the best plan out there to bring our tax code into a globally competitive one. We have the best plan out there to roll back all of these crazy regulations that Jim Inhofe fights against all the time. We're getting rid of all these crazy regulations. We have the best plan out there to save Social Security and Medicare. My mom is on Social Security and Medicare, but also bring our debt under control. We have the best plan out there to allow us to fully utilize our energy resources. God has blessed America with oil and natural gas. When I'm president, we are going to use it.